So feeding your dog homemade dog food, I had really needed to do that. I wanted to do that. And what I found was that I was making it way too complicated. It doesn't have to be that complicated. It's a lot simpler than I actually thought it was. So when I first started looking at making homemade dog food a couple of years ago, I was really looking into it because of my dog Zella. She's roaming the yard out here somewhere, but she's got a plethora of allergies, and quite frankly, I was running out of options to feed her. I had tried feeding her a variety of different foods, and she always came out with a rash, an ear infection, itchy paws. It just went on and on and on. And tested her for allergies, and sure enough, she had allergies to a whole bunch of different things. So part of it was out of necessity, and part of it was I had always been curious, and I'd always wanted to feed my dogs a more natural diet and a homemade dog food. Number one, I thought it would be really expensive, and I couldn't afford it. And if you have multiple dogs, I'm not going to lie to you, it probably is going to be really expensive. Since I only have 2 right now, it's not that much, and it's much better for them. Now, if you're like me, I had a whole ton of questions. I mean, I had questions about what if they don't get enough vitamins? What if I don't feed them enough? How much should I feed them? When should I feed them? What if they lose weight? God forbid, what if I kill them? What if they die because I'm feeding them the wrong food? None of those things happened, by the way. And it was a learning curve a little bit. It took me quite a few months to get something, perfected to what works for me. Now, what works for me might not work for you, but I'm going to put this out there to keep you intrigued, because if you're like me and you're struggling with trying to feed your dog a healthy diet and you're just running into a brick wall, I'm going to encourage you to stick with it, because if you stick with it, you will come up with something. I went back and forth for almost 2 years on what to feed these guys, and honest, and I'm not dissing kibble, because I know a lot of people feed kibble, and some people have to feed kibble because that's what they can afford. For me, it was a matter of necessity, because I have a dog with severe allergies, so I had to keep after it. I had to figure out a way to make it work and not to be caught up in the complications. So when I first started looking into it, I did research on YouTube, and I did a lot of research on, ask questions in Facebook groups. I read articles. I talked to different, to my vet, and to different people that were feeding raw diets. And by the way, I don't feed raw, but feeding raw diets, feeding cooked diets, feeding a whole plethora of different things. So I had to come up with what works for me. The recipes were all over the map, and quite frankly, I was really more confused when I got to going, looking into things, than I was to begin with, because all of those recipes and things can be very confusing. So, it's almost information overload, okay, when you get into some of that stuff and you're asking questions, and there's so many people asking questions and giving you advice. And my advice is, take advice with a grain of salt and do what works for you. That's what I had to do for me. So now I'm going to tell you guys what I do, and I'm going to drop some links in the description below, and that talk about the different kinds of things that I buy, that I put in my dog's food. And then I'm also going to drop what I put together to feed them. It's super simple. It's so simple. It's crazy simple. So I came up with a base of the Dr. Harvey's. So this is what Levi gets, is the Canine Health, and Zella gets the vegetable. Okay, she does sometimes get a little bit of the Canine Health too, but the vegetable doesn't have any kind of grains in it, so it's better for a dog with allergies. This is what I came up with. Now, the reason I decided to go with Dr. Harvey's, the biggest reason, is because if you look on the back of these bags and you read what it's got in it, it has all the vitamins, okay? So I was under the impression, and it was a false impression, that only commercial dog food has the vitamins that your dog needs. That's just simply not true. It's there's other ways for your dogs to get vitamins and nutrition that they really need. So I use this as a base, and then I cook what I've come up with, and this is refined, and I'm not going to get into that. But right now they're getting ground turkey and tilapia. tilapia is low in phosphorus, so that's what Zella needs, because, well, both of ground turkey and tilapia are both lower in phosphorus. And since she has a kidney issue, that's what she needs. And so Levi is just eating the same thing because, you know, he can eat whatever. So the ground turkey and tilapia, I put about one of those big packages of 3 pounds of ground turkey in a big skillet and just cook it up while I'm doing other things. And then once that's done, I'll throw the fish in and cook it. So it's not a big deal. And I mix it all together, flake it up, and put it in a container in the fridge. So that's what I do to start with. So, you know, and I'm not going to get into the specifics here. I also add a little bit of cottage cheese and a little bit of pumpkin, and I put some blueberries and some, you know, mixed greens salad that I eat myself in there. So I throw all that together. That's what they get. They get it twice a day. It takes me like less than 10 minutes to put together. I found some probiotic supplements that I do put in their food from 4-Leaf Rover. I'm going to put that down there too, because they need the probiotics. I believe all your dogs need probiotics no matter what you're feeding them. So that's a good thing to add to your dog's food at any rate. But honestly, it's so simple now that I've got it kind of, I won't say a science, but down to a science, down to my science, what works for these 2 dogs. And honestly, I'm so glad that I found this. I'll never go back to feeding them commercial food unless, of course, I end up in a situation where I have no other choice. But really, it's simple, it's easy. Don't overthink it. That's my best advice, is don't overthink it, and find out what works best for you, because, you know, all the dogs aren't the same. You know, it came down to, and this totally made sense too, how much to feed them. And I was actually feeding them too much protein at one point in time, and my vet said, oh, you need to probably cut that back a little bit. I was feeding 3/4 cup of meat, and he said, no, you need to just drop that to 1/2. So I dropped that to 1/2. Zella's creatinine had gone up a little high, and so he wanted me to drop that down a bit. And so it only made sense because in the Dr. Harvey's, it comes with measuring cups, and the measuring cup is a 1/4 cup. So you put 2 of those in their food. These guys weigh about 55 pounds. So 2 scoops of the Dr. Harvey's mixed with the water, and then 1/2 cup of the meat mixture. And then whatever little tidbits that you want to throw in there. You know, sometimes instead of a cup of or 1/2 cup of food, they'll get a hard-boiled egg chopped up in their food for their protein. So you just kind of have to play around with it a little bit. And it's okay if, like, you start out feeding your dog too much, like I did. Initially, I was feeding these guys 3/4 cup of meat and 1/2 cup of the base mixture. If you look at the bag of dog food, when you're buying your commercial dog food for the dogs in this weight range, in the mid 50 pounds, it almost says 2 cups a day or 4 cups a day, which is way too much, by the way. But, you know, a cup a day, a cup in the morning and a cup at night. That's what they're getting, basically, give or take. So 1/2 cup of the Dr. Harvey's, 1/2 cup of meat, and then little tidbits of things mixed in. Like, they love blueberries, they love cottage cheese, and I don't put a whole lot of that in there. You'll see, well, you probably already did because it's on the thumbnail, what their food looks like. And it's super easy to put it together. Like I said, now that I am used to it, it only takes me, it's less than 10 minutes to put it together. So I'm going to encourage you, if you're watching this video, and if you're to this point, thank you for watching, and please like and subscribe to my channel. You know, don't give up. Keep working on it. If you're really looking to feed your dog a homemade dog food or a more natural diet, don't give up. Hang in there. You can do it. And if you have any questions at all, I'm more than happy to tell you about my experiences and answer any questions that you have for me personally. Thanks for watching, and hang in there, my friends. You can do it.